All right, let's pause recording. Bam, y'all. Yeah, Chuck, we're back for another one. Oh,
Yeah, Mike.
snap.
Sorry, should I leave the glasses on the forehead or should I actually wear them?
I just liked how you dropped them down when it was go
You
time.
like
So
that?
it's like, just
I was
like
like ready to
IQ
go. You
time
said
kicking
yeah,
in.
Chuck, and I was like ready to go. Let's go.
It's like I got my brain ready to fire. I even gave you like more than an hour's notice on what we're talking about today.
I was
So
pleasantly surprised about that, Mike. You actually just told me what we wanted to talk about in advance, which I'm shocked that you did.
working on it, working on it. And again, I'm experimenting. So if you guys want to let us know too, we're trying some different, doing a new mic, trying different camera setup. So let me know what you guys think. Even in the description below, we have all of our contact stuff. Or if you just want to comment, let us know what you're thinking. Always appreciate it. But we're going to dig into, I think this is, again, something we've hinted at, we've talked and kind of flirted with in different ways, but the topic of kind of busting the myth that women should avoid weight and resistance training because they're going to bulk and get kind of an unattractive, result than what they really want. So let's bust this myth down, Chuck.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, social media obviously is a big portion of that, feeding into that myth. You got to understand, if you're going to get bulky from weight training, the amount of weight training that it takes to gain that type of size and structure around you is immense. You are not going to turn into a female bodybuilder by lifting heavy. It's going to take a combination of various training methods and nutrition to get your body into that level, or that level of I don't want to get to. I gotta, we're gonna switch gears a little bit here. I've for years been telling my wife that she needs to lift heavy to see the results that she constantly in her mind wants to get to. And in her mind, it's cardio, 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 cardio that's going to get me there. And then ultimately, never listening to me, having me write programs for her, and then she'll try them and be like, "Oh, I don't want to do them anymore. I need more cardio." Or addicted to Pilates, or addicted to yoga, or addicted to running outside. This stuff never got her to the point where she wanted to be. And then ultimately, and this was like kind of a slap in the face, but not a slap in the face. She ends up finding a trainer that she really, really liked, a female trainer. And the female trainer was, very mass marketed kind of training method. She started doing these training methods, and guess what they were? Lifting heavy. And it very much, a lot of the exercises and programs that she were doing were exactly similar to the program that I had written her months and months and years before. And as she's doing them, I'm like, hey, does this seem similar to what I was trying to tell you do back in the day? She's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. She yas me to death. But, I'm ultimately glad she ended up finding this trainer. She didn't have faith in myself or you or anybody else. But I'm glad she found this trainer that was backing up all of the information that I had given her previously. And she's had tremendous success in getting her body in that image of her mind that she has always wanted to get to by lifting heavy. And we're not talking about going out and run one rep maxing all the time. She's not doing that. That's another misconception. I'm not having her pyramid up, or, doing a 3x3 or a 5x5 or this, that, or the other thing. It's consistent weight that she's working with, but it's heavier weight. And she's got to get to the point where when you get comfortable with that certain level of weight that you're using, now increase it by 2.5, 5 pounds, whatever it is, and constantly taxing those muscles by increasing the levels of weight that you're using.
Oh man, so much to unpack there, Chuck, and so many great points from
Sorry,
the
I went
combination.
on a tangent, man.
No, it's beautiful, dude. I don't know if you noticed, I had to bust out my keyboard and start like taking some notes here, just to be able to touch on. Like, I'm looking at my bullet points. I'm like, all right, cool. I got some good things I want to dig into here. The biggest thing that I want to dial it back to and go back with is that idea of it's extremely challenging to put on like mass and bulk the way I think most women are going to fear it will happen. Again, it takes a very calculated effort in your training protocols as well as in your nutrition protocols. Like if you're in a calorie deficit, the likelihood of you putting on massive bulk is like slim to none, if at all possible, unless you have some kind of exogenous, like, you know, hormonal treatment cycle or some other kind of external variables that are coming into play that is, it would be like a whole nother, like, why is that even happening in the first place? And then with the combination of the other aspects. So that's like one thing we're starting to resolve, maybe some of the fears, giving some peace of mind. Now looking at, let's like cover, I want to dig into something you're kind of alluding to here and the benefits of it. And even like we can dig into like how we do this, what will it look like, some actionable steps, but even very much the positives and the net benefits. And the big thing I want to highlight or kind of pull out from what you talked about, and even with Pina, for example, and like Ashley does this too. Like I'll be honest with you, like I do take it a little bit personal. Like I don't care about Pina, obviously, I don't take it as personal for that because she's not my partner or my wife, but like Ashley, like doesn't want to work out with me. We pay for her to go to the Y, and I'm fine with that. Like, hey, I'm fine. You know, go to a gym, whatever. Like they have childcare now, so that makes our lives easier. I don't care if you train at home, but like she like works with the other coaches. I'm like, dude, this is all the stuff I've been telling you to do, all the same stuff. But whatever works, and that's the big thing. Whatever works, guys.
Whatever
for you
works.
Listening,
that's
watching.
ultimately it.
That's exactly what we want. That's what I do want to highlight. But the thing that I think Ashley also sees, and it's like as if she magically discovered it, or maybe she's drowning me out, or whatever's happening. I don't know. Maybe for you guys out there listening and watching, for the females out there, like you have to discover this on your own as well. And seeing the actual benefits and being able to see, here's the cool thing is like talking about cardio or yoga or Pilates or anything like that. Those are all great options. They're great tools to have in the toolbox. To me, the biggest benefit to doing like resistance training and interval training, which resistance training and interval training can kind of be two different things. I lump them in a very similar category, is the metabolic benefit. Meaning, without trying to get too fancy in the wording, is you're going to be burning more calories every second of the day when you start to incorporate more resistance training into your day. A, because your body has to repair itself and grow, so that causes more metabolic demand or calorie demand to do that. So you can potentially eat more, or if you eat the same, you'll potentially lose fat and pull from that, as well as now the more muscle you have on your frame, the more calories your body needs to burn just to stay even, just to maintain. So I always make this like financial analogy. It's like the more muscle you have on your frame, it's like the more money in a investment account. The more money you have in an investment account, even if the interest rate stays the same, you're getting more money back at the end of the day. So where that comes into the body, the more muscle you have, the more calories you're ultimately burning. So that means you could be losing more fat, or you can maybe eat a little bit more in your calories and have a more sustainable, maintainable approach that you're going to enjoy as well.
Right. And that's where body composition comes into play. So when, you know, you're trying to figure out where should my caloric intake be, you obviously your lean body mass is what's driving where that caloric intake needs to be. And if you're putting on more muscle mass, if your lean body mass is at a higher percentage because you're putting on lean muscle mass, you can intake more calories. And based upon what you want to do, again, if we want to pack on more muscle, obviously we want to eat more proteins to support building that lean muscle. And if we want to lose body fat, we keep our protein levels moderate, and then we reduce our other macronutrients to support losing body fat. Now, that all comes into play with, obviously, there's much more calculations than what I just gave you. There's a science behind it. And you're not going to figure that out by just picking that up from this podcast. You obviously need to either investigate more or work with a coach. But in order to increase your muscle mass to that point of in your mind of, I don't want to get to that level, you have to understand you're going to have to intake so much more protein than you're used to. You're going to be full all the time. Now, I know me personally, I don't eat to the point where I'm full all the time, and I have a decent amount of lean body mass on me. Would I like more? Sure. But that's my struggle to
Whoa. Can we pause for a second? You just said you have a decent amount of muscle mass. Can we just like reframe that and put it in a realistic term? Because if people say, like, if they look at you like, oh, that's decent muscle, like I feel like that's where the potential like listen, let's be real here. You got a good solid amount of muscle on your frame. I just want to pause and highlight that. But anyways, continue. Sorry.
Just being humble. So anyway, yeah, again, I have a decent amount. Mike says it's excessive, but I have a decent amount of lean body mass on me. I would like to get more, but also you have to understand that the more muscle you pack on your body, the more it's going to tax, the more you're going to be expending. So if you want to do hobbies like hiking or running or this or that or the other thing, it's going to tax your body more. So that way you have to train your cardiovascular level to keep intact with the amount of lean body mass that you have on you as well. So you're not going to, build this ridiculous amount of muscle by just incorporating strength training right away. You have to combine strength training, nutrition, cardiovascular training. All that is combined with what you're thinking of by, oh, I'm going to lift heavy, I'm going to turn into that. No, it's not going to happen.
And then one thing I want to so you touched on a really important piece is this is not just one aspect. There's a variety of aspects that come into play. And one of the other things I think that can be part of this myth busting theme, especially for females out there, is not only like potential bulk and those aspects, but it's like, well, I enjoy, like you mentioned, like yoga and Pilates, whether it's for Peanut. I know Ashley likes that. And in general, I'm a big fan of mobility. I know you are as well. Having mobility, having flexibility. A lot of times I think there's this also myth or misconception that when you start adding weight training or doing too much resistance training, you're just all of a sudden going to get tight. You lose range of motion. However, on the flip side, when we're doing, a well-balanced approach with our strength training, with our cardiovascular training, and with everything else in between, our resistance training can actually facilitate more mobility and range of motion because you can support and have safe structure throughout a guided range of motion that your body will support it. Or you can even facilitate great range of motion, like in Bulgarian split squats is one of the things that comes to my mind, where you really have great hip flexor range of motion and lengthening of your quads, for example.
Right. There's so many different strength training exercises you could do. You mentioned Bulgarian split squats, Cossack squats, things that open up your hips. But it's got to be well-rounded. And that's something that you just said, a well-rounded approach. If we go into just doing the fundamental deadlifts, squats, and bench presses, and we stick with those three things, it's not well-rounded. And if we just stick with the three major components of foundational lifting with deadlifts, squats, and barbell bench presses, you're not having a well-rounded program. You have to have a well-rounded program. Now, one of the things that I like to do is I will do a foundational lift, one of those foundational lifts on each one of my workouts, but then I incorporate supplemental lifts that will also help with my mobility, but also incorporate those resistance training methods as well.
Bam. That's what, again, that's I think going back to the programming piece and being able to, again, have either a good amount of experience in your own to build your own programs, or having a professional, or having that aspect. And that's why why we talk about these things. We want to expose and bring more attention to it, as well as like why we have our courses, whether it's the total body series that we have and the booty builder focus, or the live nutrition course and things we have going on there, and even our coaching programs, being able to find what makes sense for you as well. Like when it came to Pino or Ashley, doesn't even have to be with just whatever that looks like. Find a coach or find an aspect that resonates with you, that you're going to enjoy, that's going to be sustainable. And that's even something where we have a webinar coming out for next week on September 8th, where it's talking about sustainable nutrition habits. But the theme and the thing I want to pull out there is the sustainability to all these things. So it doesn't mean, hey, if you like running or if you like mobility work or Pilates or yoga, we can keep that. We just help facilitate that with the resistance training. And then even looking at the nutritional piece, again, obviously hydration is going to be key, but being able, to your point, Chuck, look at our proteins, look at our macros. But ultimately, I think just for me personally, I really enjoy food. So if I can find the win, and I hear a lot of people out there, they look at, well, you know what? And it's going to make sense. Just follow me, guys. I know Chuck's already looking at me like, dude, where are you going with this? But, I hear women give me 3 target areas all the time. Arms, this little, like, whatever we want to call this. I've heard women call a lot of different things. I'm not going to repeat all those names because I think they're kind of a little harsh on themselves. Our midsection, obviously, and then the legs and butt. Now, there's a few approaches, right? There's obviously, we can lose body fat and that'll help. However, if you've gained weight and your body and your skin isn't adapted to that, you can lose all the weight in the world, but it's not going to shape it potentially the way you want. So now combining in the resistance training to help add on some lean tissue, that lean body composition, while also losing body fat. And that's, again, where I go back to the nutrition side of things, being able to feed with the protein and knowing how much protein should I be eating. That's like a question I get all the time. How much protein should I be eating, Chuck?
Yeah, and it's honestly, it's mind-boggling to kind of wrap your head around how much protein your body really needs. And you have to understand, if you're not taking in your proper amounts of protein, your body is going to have an adverse effect to it, and it's going to hold on to those fat intakes that we take in. So, we got to narrow down what is the proper level of protein. And there's no like, off the shelf type of answer. Everybody is different. But to dial back something that Mike touched on, everybody has this misconception in their mind as to body image, right? You have to be comfortable in your own skin. And honestly, and I'm going to go revert back to talking about my wife. She's never been comfortable in her own skin. And finally, after doing this program with this trainer for a significant amount of time, she finally started feeling more confident in herself. Her one item has always been her legs, and she's finally feeling more confident in herself with her legs. She's always been in a very good form. She's always, in my opinion, she should have always been confident in herself. And really, no matter what size you are, no matter, if you're overweight, if you're underweight, if you're in middleweight, whatever it is, you have to feel confident in your own skin. Who cares what's out there in social media? There's someone for everybody. Everybody has different likes and everybody has different tastes. Your personal confidence level should be just for yourself. Really, honestly, I say it all the time, and I yell at Mike for cursing on the podcast all the time, but fuck it. Who cares what other people think of you? Think of yourself as your own judge. When you look in the mirror, that should be the one person that you're battling with all the time. And you should feel comfortable and confident in your skin, no matter what it is. If you want to incorporate strength training in there to do exactly what Mike said, if you're uncomfortable with your skin, if your skin is a little loose, let's build some lean muscle mass to tighten that up a little bit. If you've got excess belly fat, there's certain things that we can do. Strength training will help that. It's not going to turn you. Listen, you know how hard it is to maintain and develop a six-pack? It's so friggin' hard. You're not going to get a six-pack from lifting heavy. There's so many different components of you try and get a six-pack. You're not going to get well-rounded shoulders from just doing some shoulder presses with some dumbbells all the time. There's so many different components. Strength training is a key element of you getting your body in the shape that mentally, or the image, that self-image that you have. It'll help you get there. It's not going to be the one thing that you're going to be like, crap, I don't want to do strength training because I'm going to, be vascular and I'm going to walk around looking like the Hulk. It's not going to happen unless you incorporate so many different elements into your training.
And I want to piggyback again on what you said. I think that's a really important point of where that confidence comes from. And I think this is a whole nother topic that we're going to talk about on a different podcast, because it's kind of related to motivation. And a lot of times we'll think okay, my motivation will drive my action, when really our actions tend to drive our motivation. So now going back to that confidence component, if you're going into this, no matter what shape or frame or whatever that looks like, if you're going into it with insecurities, which we all have, myself included, Chuck, I know we've talked about this, even with you, with all of us, we always have areas we want to work on. However, even at and I'm gonna be really transparent with you guys, before I even go into, we're doing our nutrition course September 12th. Before I go into it, I'm going at my ceiling weight that I got married at 210. This is I'm right at 207. I'm flirting with the north end of the most I like to weigh and the highest body fat percentage I like to have. And I have this range I'll fluctuate in. So at times it's being even at peace with that, not saying, hey, I'm just going to F off and do whatever. But that confidence has to come from within you, because no matter how much training you do, no matter how much you change your body composition, you won't all of a sudden have confidence. And you'll always find, from my perspective, an area or an insecurity or something. So having that confidence come from within, and then letting that confidence drive your actions, and having confidence saying, hey, I feel good about where my body is, accepting that component of it, and then going and still making a change, taking action, can really accumulate, and again, in a sustainable manner that really lasts.
Yeah, and if you're less stressed about what other people think of you, that's going to help you with your process as well. If you really just say, fuck it, and you don't care what anybody else thinks of you, and you're your own critic, you're comfortable in your skin as it is, but you've identified that you want to make healthier choices or you want to change A, B, or C on your body. If your now stress has been reduced because you don't care about what the general population think of you, you're only your own critic, you're going to hit those goals a little bit easier, and it's going to be easier to maintain the plan as you're put on it. If you don't have those outside resources hitting you, if you're not paying attention to what the goofballs on social media are constantly putting out there, really, I mean, there's so many fake people out there on social media that are, you know, fitness influencers or this or that. They're not certified. They've never done any type of training themselves. They've literally just, they're hobbyists, and you know, they're doing little poses here and there, and they get a million friggin' likes, and then all of a sudden they're a fitness influencer. You know, they're not the people that you want to look towards. You know, the people that focus themselves on continued education and really don't put out a lot of details. I hate being on social media. I'd rather focus myself on studying and educating myself and helping people versus being out there on social media. If you focus your attention back on yourself and you don't pay attention to what's out there, you're going to hit your goals easier, because it's going to be easier for you to focus on yourself.
So to even like piggyback and kind of follow up on that, I think that's a very important point, because there's even, let's even say someone has done training, they've worked with a coach, but they don't have an academic background. They have some experience, and that's all well and good. But just because, let's say you're a great athlete, doesn't make you a great coach. Just because you have a great aesthetic body doesn't mean you know what you're doing to get, not only, maybe you know what you did to get yourself there, and genetics come into play, your environment comes into play, your, you know, background comes into play. Like if you played sports your whole life, you have a natural advantage versus someone that's never done anything athletic, and the whole variations of that. So then knowing, saying, hey, I have to make adjustments around that completely. And that's what I think, again, to your point, the academic side, the experience side, I put experience over the, even the, like the, sometimes the certification side of it. And that's what I always appreciate about you, Chuck, is not just like getting a cert, which is great, which you have, and we have plenty of it. Like, oh, that's all well and good, but it's the continuous academic pursuit and investment and experience, and like not just doing it and then saying, hey, I'm too good, and you stop, and then you just like sit on the accomplishments you've had. You stay in the lab, you stay working, and you kind of keep getting after it. So I kind of want to bring it home here, Chuck. I want to give people, again, actionable steps, things that they can go with, and just maybe something to try, saying, hey, this is what I would say. And then I'm going to throw mine out there, and I want to hear yours, Chuck. What I would say is give yourself at least a month, at least, like, you know, that's even like really lowballing it.
Yeah,
right?
that's really lowballing it.
But like,
I would say at a minimum 6 to 8 weeks of just trying it out. You're not going to, even at 6 to 8 weeks, you're not going to see a lot of great momentum with just the 6 to 8 weeks. I think Pina actually, I think honestly, after her first 12-week program, that's when she started seeing some minor changes. And then she's done like another 8 weeks after that. Then she really started seeing some positive changes. 6 to 8 weeks at a minimum. Because even at a month in, if you just try it at a month in, you're really just starting to break a little bit of ground. You really need 6 to 8 weeks of just trying it from the conception. And you don't have to go crazy with it. Get yourself a pair of adjustable dumbbells, or even if you just want to get, 15, 20 pounds,
bands, right?
Resistance bands, something. Resistance bands are great. You work with the resistance bands. You can, obviously there's a ton of resources out there for you to just find any type of resistance band training. We've got our courses that you can look at. We've
even got resistance bands now. We've got dumbbells. We've got all the.
We've got everything. But just get yourself a pair of adjustable dumbbells or resistance bands and try it out. And we're not saying you have to lift crazy heavy weights. Remember what I said in the beginning of the podcast. Do something. Start out by doing like 4 sets, making sure you get at least 8 reps in with a weight that you're comfortable in. And by what kind? Oh, Chuck, what do you mean comfortable? What we call rate of performed exercise. 70 to 80% of resistance, you're taxing your body to 80 to 80%. You're not going 100% all out. 70 to 80% tax on your body of rate of performed exercise. And then from there, once you get comfortable doing 4 sets of 8, Then you dial up the notch a little bit and add a little bit of weight. Now, the one thing that I want you to put in the back of your mind when you're watching the videos and you're educating yourself on how to do the exercise, if your form is not 100% to what's on the screen and how the person is performing it, drop your weight down and get your form perfect before you try to increase the weight. And if you increase the weight and your form is off, drop that weight back down and concentrate on your form. It's form over everything.
So I can already hear two questions coming up. I can just read your mind, Joe. The big one is, well, how do I know if, like, I don't know if it feels right or not. So the biggest thing I would say is, like, record yourself. We all have, at this day and age, if you have a phone, there's a 99% chance you have a camera on your phone. 99.9%, unless for the few people who have like flip phones. I might even be going back to a flip phone check. I don't even know. But
there's a camera on a flip phone. I'm just saying, there's camera.
That's true. Yeah, that's even there. Yeah, even there you have camera, so you can take it and then upload it. Especially if you have a social media, like there's tons of Facebook groups. We have our LOF University Facebook group. You guys can get in. We'll have the link below. You can follow us, email, even reach out to us saying, hey, this is the form. This is what I'm following. What do you guys think? And then we'll have either one of us or one of our coaches, someone from our team will reach out, give you some insight and give you some direction there, because we're happy to help at the end of the day and then provide value for you guys. And then the other side of it, going back to that RPE, the rate of perceived exercise or exertion, or there's all these different acronyms that will come around and different breakdowns from it, is 70 to 80%. Like, all right, what the hell does that even mean? Like, let's even dig even deeper. I want to clear. So the biggest way I measure that is on the last 2 to 3 reps, you should be feeling challenged and like, ooh, this is getting tough. Not that I can't do it, but you're feeling on the last 2 to 3 reps where you're like, all right, this is tough now. Now it's either getting a little, I don't want to say shaky, but like you're feeling a little bit of that strain. To me, that's one of the easiest ways that you can measure that 70, 80% of the RPE and being able to take that. So I think that's like a great place to start. And to your point, Chuck, yeah, 60. I was being really super kind of conservative with 4 weeks because I just want to like just give you guys at least that. Because I know once you give it 4 weeks, you're probably going to keep going. And the other thing, we did a TikTok on this, and I do want to highlight it really quick, and then we'll kind of wrap it up and bring it home. Is a female out there? What was her name? Magdalene Rose. I'm going to give her a shout out. We'll put her TikTok below. We'll give her a tag and a shout out. But she put up a video like, hey, y'all, I started weight training for 2 weeks now. I haven't seen any physical changes yet. And of course, in 2 weeks, you're not going to see a tremendous amount of physical change in the aesthetics. However, she said, standing up, I have no pain. Like lifting things around the house, like a pan or little impacts in the first 2 to even 4 weeks, you'll see the functional application of the strength training coming into play. Like if you're a parent picking up your kids, being able to just, if you are in the car a lot, if you work behind the desk, feeling maybe a little relief in neck pain and having your posture improve and having a little more core activation and being able to get out of a chair easier. All these little things are huge wins, or being able to walk up a flight of stairs. I got a message from a client earlier in the week saying, you know what, I'm not out of breath now when I have to walk up a flight of stairs, and it feels amazing. Things like that are huge wins that can go back to the weight training and the resistance training side, as well as all the other developments that go along with it.
Absolutely. I'm still going to say 6 to 8 weeks, but will. It's just me, but you'll definitely start seeing benefits earlier than 6 to 8 weeks. Just like Mike was saying, walking upstairs may be a little bit easier. Picking up the groceries and walking into the house, that could be a little bit easier. Various different things, getting up from your desk, walking around, various things will start to become easier the more deeper you get into a program. But obviously, you're not going to see a lot of aesthetic changes with just 4 weeks in. And again, like I said, even 6 to 8 weeks in, you may not see a lot of aesthetic changes. It'll gradually come over time. But it's not going to be a thing right away where you just, I lifted weights yesterday. How come I don't see veins popping out of my biceps? It's going to come over time. You have to put a lot of effort into it. And just like we said in the meat and potatoes of this podcast, those aesthetic changes, you need a lot of elements in your training program to get those aesthetic changes. It's not just going to come just from the strength training. You'll see minor ones, but there needs to be a lot of other influencers in there, like nutrition.
Bingo. So that's what we're going to bring it home with. I say we wrap it up on that because those are all amazing, strong points. You guys have actionable steps now to take. Again, we'll provide some extra resources below that we already have created that are free. You'll even, we'll throw in access. You get a free week to our fitness and nutrition vault if you guys want to check that out. We have workout protocols on there, from resistance bands to body weight to even having dumbbells and things like that. We'll add some links to our equipment as well if you guys want to check that out. And again, if you have questions or anything like that, let us know. And to just kind of bring it home, again, we're doing our webinar September 8th at 8 p.m. Eastern time. That's, again, free for everybody. Jump on, check it out. We're looking at sustainable nutrition habits. And then September 12th, we're launching, again, our next live nutrition course. Doing it together. You guys will have weekly check-ins with our team, myself and Chuck and our nutrition team, in the Zoom calls, as well as the course content, having the planning, looking at the body types, all this amazing stuff. So I can't, again, emphasize both everything from the free side of things and the resources you have out there to all the way up the spectrum to like the valuable opportunities to invest in yourself and make the sustainable change there.
Great information that we gave out on this podcast. And I would really love to see everybody join us on those Zooms and the live event. So go to Lifestyle of Fitness and sign advantage of the LOF 28 lunch, because Mike and I participate in that with you, and we're there to answer any questions along the way. So definitely take advantage of the fact that we're going to participate it with you guys.
Bam. So we'll see you guys next week, and then also see you on the webinar and on the course.
Stay healthy.